Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this episode we are going to take a look at how we can create this animation in React Native. It is using React Native Reanimated and Moti for the skeleton or the loading indicator. We are going to use React Native layout animations and as well as entering and exiting to display those beautiful images. Without further ado, jump straight into VS Code and start building this animation. Shall we? Alrighty guys, so we are in VS Code here. I have created a project using Expo and I have installed React Native Reanimated and Moti. Those are the dependencies that we are going to need for this tutorial. Let's start by creating a new file, availability animation, create it, availability animation, and render it inside the application, availability animation. This availability animation is going to receive a set of properties, and one of it is the data and the other one is going to be the loading indicator. I have prepared here a schema using a faker just to generate some data, and I have a method called generate fake home, another method that's going to turning a collection of those fake home, and then I'm also returning the type based on the return of this method generate fake. Each individual item within this collection is going to have a key and an image that's coming from Lorem Ipsum, and I would like to use that data and send it to this availability animation component. So I'll say here data is going to be some data, store it in the state, an empty array home type, that's actually an array. Import useState, and the data is going to be data which is initially generate fake homes. This is great. Now we can move to the animation and add the data as home type, which is an array, and render something. I know for a fact that we are going to render a text that's going to say how many homes are available or how many items are available. It's data length available, right? And there are two availables. Then I would like to render another view that's going to store all the items, and I'll iterate over the data, and for each individual item I'm gonna render an item and pass item data to it. Item is equal to item, and also specify a key, item.key. Great. And create this function item, get the item as home type, and inside view with an image. It's coming from React Native Reanimated. Source as item image, apply some styles. Width is going to be item size, aspect ratio is going to be 1, and define the item size along with some other constants. So I will also need the spacing, border radius, an item size 40, and press save. Right, so we have this data right now, which is looking quite great. And here on the view that's rendering those items, I'll do a flex direction throw, and also don't forget to apply some border radius. So border radius on this is going to be border radius. Great. And now I would like to create that fancy border around the image, and to do so I'm actually going to specify some styling to the image container. Now I'll mention here, the width is going to be item size, and I'll do a border radius of border radius, and then I'll say pairing is going to be spacing and the background color of white. But instead of specifying the width now to the image, we can do a flex 1. Remove and move the aspect ratio as well to this parent. So this is saying, instead of specifying the width and the height or the size to the image itself, we are just saying, hey, take the entire available space, and the view that's rendering that image is going to set the width and the aspect ratio or the height, and also set some shadow color, shadow offset, shadow opacity, shadow radius. Save, and also an elevation of 5. Great, so this is looking quite great. Let me make the image a little bit higher, so 60 should be enough for now. And I would like to apply a negative margin left for each individual item. So in this way we are going to put them one on top of each other. Let's create that. I'll give margin left, item size divided by 2, but I would like to remove it for the first item, so I'll also need to pass the index as number, so index number, and pass the index as well here, get it from the map. And now we need to go back to the index, and we are saying if index is different than 0, then we would like to apply it, otherwise we don't care that much, right? And last thing is that we would like to generate a random rotation, right? Just for each individual item, let's generate a random number between -15 and 15 and apply it as a rotate. So go here to the constants and create this method that's going to generate a number between -15 and 15. Hit save, and where we are rendering this item, transform is going to be rotate and call this method as degrees. And now whenever I'm pressing save, you'll see that for each render, this item is going to have a random rotation, which is fantastic. Now let's go back to this view, modify the container to be a flex row, right? Because I would like to have 2 available, and then on the other side, I would like to make visible the items. So I'll specify a flex direction row and also justify the content space between. So in this way, we create a separation. More, I would like to align the items to the center. Great. Now this row that's going to contain the images, I would like to take all the available space. So I need to specify a flex 1. Just to make everything clear for you, I'll apply a different background color, and you'll see that this is all the space that's available for this container. I will do the same with the text itself. So I'll mention text, and I will say flex is going to be 0.6, let's say. Okay, so now we have created some space for the text, but also for the images. Let me remove the background red for now. And also we would like to move it on the right hand side, so we will say justify content to the flex center. Great. Now I would like to go back where we are rendering the available animations, and I would like to create a function that's going to regenerate the data after a couple of seconds, let's say a random delay. So I'll say here const is loading, because we are also going to treat is loading to false. And because we are going to be using a set timeout, I would like to also store that timeout. Whenever the user is going to press on a button, I'm going to clear the timeout and then store it again. So I'll say timer is going to be a use ref as a no timeout or null, and null is going to be by default. And create here a button, title, generate new data, and on press, I'm gonna first clear the timeout. Clear timeout, timer current. Then I'm gonna do a set timeout, set the data with generate new homes. And in between those two actions, I would like to first set is loading to true, and then whenever I have generated the homes, I like to set the loading to false again. So before calling the set timeout, set is loading is to true, and inside this set timeout is loading to false. And call this method randomly. Math random between 1 second and 2 seconds. So when you press on this button, it's going to wait a random amount of time, and then it's going to set the data again, right? Great. Now let's go back to the availability. And the first thing, let's kickstart the animation. What are we going to animate? Well, I'm going to animate the entering and the exiting of each individual item. We are going to apply a stagger and then display something if it's loading or not. So let's start with the entering and exiting animation for each individual item. So here where we are rendering the item, instead of just directly rendering the item, I'm going to create an animated view. This animated is going to come from React Native Reanimated, and inside it I'm going to place the item. Move now the key to the view and hit save. Nothing should change, right? But now we can access some properties on this animated view, such as entering, for example. And we are going to zoom in, which is a built-in animation that React Native comes with. So I'll say, apply it, add a springifier, stiffness, and a damping. And now I'm gonna press save. And look what's going to happen when I'm gonna press generate new data. Look, you see, they are going to appear. So look, boom, great. Now let's do the same for the exiting. So whenever I'm gonna unmount the elements, exiting, I'm gonna say zoom out from React Native Reanimated. So now whenever this element is going to be removed, we are going to kick this animation in. But this is not actually happening now, just because we don't actually remove this until we have new data. So let's do that now. I will say here, you know, if it's loading, if it's not loading, we need to render the data, otherwise render nothing. So this is loading, should come as a property. So we are going to specify this here. Is loading is going to be a boolean. Okay, and past that is loading wherever we are rendering this animation component. So is loading as is loading. So now when I'm gonna press this button, we are going to remove that list of images and render a new one when we have the data. See, look, great. Now you see this row is actually moving because of the removal of the images. We don't have any height anymore, right? So the new height of this container is going to be the text height. So let's fix that. We can go to the component and we can specify min height as item size, and on top of that we can also apply it to this row. So we can say min height is going to be item size. Now generate again and you'll see everything is going to stick together here. Let me also give you a quick background just for you to visualize how everything is going to look like. Great. The next thing that I would like to apply is to create stagger animation. So basically I'm gonna delay each individual item by the index. And to do so, since we already have access to the index, I just need to apply a delay. It's index multiplied by a stagger. And let's do the same for the exiting and also create the stagger, because right now we don't have access to it. So come here, const stagger is equal to 75. And now it's going to be unmounted from left to right with a small delay, right? See? There is an issue right now, and this is because of the entering and exiting animation. We are going to lose the z-index track. So as you can see, the last element of this list has the biggest z-index, right? So it's going to sit on top of everything. But whenever I'm gonna regenerate new set of data, the exit animation is going to reverse that order, because this is going to be the first element from the left. It's going to start first the animation. So it's going to pop basically the layout. So look what's going to happen. You see, it's going to snap directly on top of everything, and we don't want that, and we would like to keep the z-index as it is. So to fix this small issue, we can go here inside the data render and apply a style for each individual item and say, you know, the z-index is going to be the index. So now hit refresh and it's going to keep the same z-index, which is great. It's what we actually need. Now I would like to apply a different tile to the loading state, right? So I would like to create like a skeleton component that's going to have like some sort of background and is going to cover basically, or yeah, is going to cover whatever the images or the text is going to be. So let's create a small component here, skeleton, and this component is going to render animated view that's going to have a style. And I will say, I don't know, width is going to be 80%, height is 25% of the item height, and border radius, background color of loading color. And let's create this constant here, go top, const loading color is going to be DDD, right? And this skeleton, I would like to show it when, for example, the text is loaded. So if it's not loading, show this text, otherwise render a skeleton. And now if I hit generate, you'll see look. But I would like to apply some different animations. And because we are in reanimated world, we again have access to the same entering and exiting. So we'll say entering is going to be fade in with the same damping and the same stiffness, and the exiting fade out with the same damping and stiffness. Now let's import fade in from React Native Reanimated and fade out as well. Now whenever I'm gonna press generate, you'll see that this element is going to be animated. Look, right? And the same we can do for the text itself, right? So instead of a text, we can say, you know, it's an animated text, and do the same entering and exiting. So copy those two different entering and exiting properties and paste them here. So whenever now it's going to animate. Great. Also apply a justify content to the center. So we are going to keep them here. But notice that there is a small, if I'm just zooming in, you see, there is just a small layout shift. And to fix it, we can also specify min height is going to be item size. So in this way, we are always going to position elements in the middle no matter what. So now we have just quickly fixed this issue. And last, it's to create the same skeleton but for images. So if I'm going back to this skeleton, you know, I would like to just extend this component and pass some different styles based on the place that we are rendering it. So I'll say here the props are equal to view props, and these props, it's actually style and rest. And with the style in mind, we can get it as a property and also apply the rest. Now hit save, go wherever we are using the skeleton and apply here the style, and we are going to say the same styles, right? So nothing should change, but this time we are actually going to have access to this everywhere, and we can do the loading state for the images as well. So we are going to say, you know, I think it's kind of like too big, the border radius. Great. And now let's do for the images. Images, if we go to this loading, we are saying if it's not loading, render the images, otherwise render the loading. So if it's not loading, render the loading, otherwise loading skeleton, right? And let's create this function here. So I'll go loading skeleton, and I'm gonna use the skeleton as it is here, right? But in addition to that, I'm gonna apply also random rotation. So I'm gonna say, you know, I would like to render three elements, and inside I'm gonna get a skeleton and render it. Let's add a key index, why not? Should be style of flex direction of row, and I would like to apply a width of item size and an aspect ratio of 1, and I would like to apply a border radius, the same border radius as the image, border width of spacing divided by 2, border color white. Press save. Now we have those elements. Let me actually do is loading by default, so it's going to be true, just to make everything visible. And now do the same margin left. Go back, I will say margin left. If index is equal to 0 is 0, otherwise we are going to say item spacing divided by 2 minus item spacing, right? So we just move those, and the border width it's actually going to be spacing, and apply the same transform, rotate, and it's going to be the same get random value. So now whenever I'm generating a new one, I'm gonna show them. Look, this is actually looking quite good. The last thing that I would like to show you is how we can use Moti to create this pulse mechanism to the skeletons. So I'm gonna go back to the app, true by default for the is loading, and I'm gonna go to the availability, and now I would like to animate the skeleton as a pulse. So instead of rendering an animated view, I would like to use a Moti view. So this Moti view is going to be basically also an animated view under the hood, but we can access some really nice properties. And one of them is we can actually animate the background colors, right? So we are going to move from this DDD to EEE, okay? EEE. So we are going to say, you know, the loading color is going to be DDD, but I would like to also move washed, which is EEE, okay? And I'm gonna go to the Moti view and add here, you know, let's animate from background color, loading color, animate this one to background color, loading color washed, and I would like to specify a different transition. And I will say the transition is going to take 1 second, is going to loop, and is going to repeat in reverse. Hit save, and now you'll see that whenever I'm gonna press reload, you'll see that this animation is going to create this really beautiful effect that's going to just small like pulsing, right? So now whenever I'm pressing generate new data is going to come, everything is going to work, but it's going to pulse. Just a tiny touch here. Alrighty guys, that was it. It was quite a long tutorial, I must say, just because, you know, you have to also create the UI, you also have to create like a bunch of other things like the state management and how the data is passed. But I hope that you have learned something new and useful during this lesson. And feel free to check animate-react-native.com. Is the platform where I'm sharing more than 120 different animations that are powered by React Native Reanimated, Animated API, Moti, gesture handler. It's also, in my opinion, the perfect collection if you just want to learn more about animations. Don't forget to hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the ring bell notification to be notified whenever I'm posting something new or go live. And otherwise, see you in the next one.